Why stupid people think they're smart. This should be interesting. This is Mark Manson. Mark Manson wrote this book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck.
You what?
Right? And no, I have not read that book, but I have heard of it. And this is Why Stupid People Think They're Smart, the Dunning-Kruger Effect, which I've heard of this. Dunning-Kruger effect is a cognitive bias that occurs when someone with limited knowledge or ability in a certain area overestimates their competence. You know, that's why I'm just like, I'm an idiot, right? I'm like a total idiot. I don't know things. I think I know some things, but I can always be wrong. You know, I'm just like, if you just go at it from like, I think I know this, but I might be wrong. And I'm willing to learn and all that kind of thing. I don't know. Am I a stupid person that thinks that they're smart? I'm not sure. Let's find out. Here we go. Let's do it. Bam.
The English philosopher Bertrand Russell once said, "The whole problem with the world is that fools and fanatics are so sure of themselves, while wiser people are so full of doubts." In psychology, what Russell described is more popularly known as the Dunning-Kruger effect. This effect finds that people who are bad at something tend to believe that they're actually good at it, and people who are good at something tend to believe that they are bad at it.
Yeah, I feel like this is a lot of people in the arts definitely have this. There's definitely a lot of that. Also, I always thought that it was interesting that like I was told before I moved to Los Angeles that there's a lot of people in Los Angeles that are like trying to do music or whatever, and they're very bad. They're not good. And I would always think like, well, if like, how do they get work? How does that work? Because I'm like, if they went to somewhere like New York, they would never make it, right? This is like early 2000s, you know, thinking that at the time. It's been forever since I've been to New York, actually, so I don't know what it's like at all now. But yeah, LA does have, I mean, there's incredible, that's the thing, like in LA, there's also like freaking incredible, like the best of the best. But there are a lot of people that have no business. You know, like that type of thing is like, oh boy, yeah, maybe no. Nice try, okay.
Elderly people who believe they're better drivers than most are actually 4 times more likely to make unsafe driving errors.
Oh my God.
Gun owners who think they're highly knowledgeable about gun safety score the lowest on tests about gun safety.
That's
Medical
bad.
lab workers who rate themselves as highly competent in their
That's
jobs
also incredibly
are actually the worst
bad.
at their jobs. The lowest performing college students dramatically overestimate their performance on exams. The lowest performers in a debate competition wildly overestimate how well they do. People with the unhealthiest lifestyle habits rate themselves as far healthier than they actually are. People who score poorly on cognitive reasoning and analytical thinking tests severely overestimate their cognitive and analytical abilities. But why does this happen? To understand, let's break knowledge down into 4 quadrants. So there are known knowns, things that we know, like I know how to ride a bike. There are known unknowns, things that we know that we don't know. For example, I have no fucking clue how quantum physics works. And then there are unknown known, things that you forgot you knew or you don't realize that you know. Like you still remember how to drive to the supermarket from your childhood home. You just forgot that you knew that. And then there are unknown unknowns, stuff that you don't know that you don't know. When we are an amateur at something, we are very aware of the things that we know, and we're completely oblivious to the things that we don't know. Let's use basketball as an example. If you know nothing about basketball, it seems simple enough. You throw a ball into the net. You know what you know and don't know what you don't know. But as you start to learn more about basketball, you discover that there are a lot of nuances. How you shoot the ball, the mechanics of your elbow, wrist, and forearm, how you position the ball in your hand, understanding the different shots, a fadeaway, a jumper, a layup, a finger roll, an alley-oop. You're beginning to become aware of all the things you don't know. And there's a lot that you don't know. Let's say you spend another year working on basketball. You've mastered a bunch of different shots and learned to shoot with good form. Now you're getting into the weeds of defensive schemes, hand checking, picks and rolls, setting various kinds of screens. At this point, you're no longer even thinking about your shooting form or how to hit a free throw. You've forgotten you know this stuff. It's unconscious.
Yeah, you just do it.
It's automatic. It's the stuff you know, but you forgot you know. And there's a ton of it. As you can see, the difference between an amateur and a professional is that an amateur's knowledge is known to them. Therefore, they get to feel smart about it. But an expert, so much of their knowledge is either unconscious and automatic, or it's knowledge of what they still need to learn. Another way to visualize this shift is to think of knowledge as a circle. The area within the circle is what you know about a topic, And the border is the horizon of your knowledge, or everything that you're aware of that you don't know yet. This border is what determines our uncertainty or doubt. Interestingly, as the size of your circle grows larger, the horizon of your knowledge also grows larger. The more you know that you don't know. But something else happens as well as you gain knowledge. As you implement information and it becomes automatic, you forget that you know it. So there's a second border inside the first. This smaller circle is everything that you've forgotten you know. So not only is the expert's horizon of doubt much longer, most of their knowledge is also unconscious. They forgot that they know it because it strikes them as so obvious and immediate, why even think about it? The idiot thinks he knows everything because he literally doesn't have enough knowledge to know better. Meanwhile, the expert thinks he knows nothing because he is so aware of all the ways in which he may be wrong. Now, I know what you're probably doing right now. It's probably the same thing I did and most people do when they learn about the dunning-kruger effect. You think to yourself, what a bunch of fucking idiots. Good thing I know about this dunning-kruger effect thing, because, you know, I'm super aware of all my flaws. That makes me like an expert at fucking everything. So this is the tricky thing about learning about cognitive biases. We would like to think that because we're aware of all the ways our mind fucks up, that we are somehow immune to those fuck ups. But once again, we are so wrong, because again and again, research has shown that educating people about their cognitive biases doesn't really make them any less susceptible to cognitive biases. And that is the most frustrating thing about the dunning-kruger effect. It is so hard to overcome, both in others, but also in ourselves. Because here's the thing, they're called blind spots for a reason. You can't fucking see them. How do you fix something that you can't see in yourself? This is the paradox of trying to overcome our own ignorance. The very thing that would help us see our mistakes is exactly what would prevent us from making them in the first place. Part of the problem is that there is a comfort in the feeling of knowing. People don't like uncertainty. Settling on a belief, whether it's true or not, is a way to resolve anxiety within ourselves. So our minds often default to believing things even if we don't have a whole lot of evidence for them. And unfortunately, ripping on people for being fucking stupid doesn't really help the situation either. Anybody who's gotten in a dumbass argument in comment threads can tell you this from experience. Again and again, psychology has shown that when people's beliefs are challenged, they don't change their minds, they actually get more rigid and defensive. So what are we supposed to do? Well, starting with ourselves, I think it's an important practice to perhaps hold fewer opinions, or at least hold them less strongly. This means being less emotionally attached to our beliefs. 100%. In other words, I think there's a lot to say for humility.
Yeah, because you don't know, you have no idea.
You see something online that is upsetting or angering or frustrating, instead of jumping to conclusions about that person or that cause, maybe sit back and say, I don't know. What the fuck am I saying? You guys aren't going to do that. Let's be honest. You know, last year I created an online course that helped people challenge their own beliefs. It helped people figure out how to hold opinions a little bit more softly. Funny thing, nobody fucking took the course.
Wow. What the heck?
For some reason, there wasn't a ton of demand for that. And not to mention, it's fucking hard to market. Like, how do you market a thing to people that's gonna make them feel wrong about everything they believe in their life? That's not exactly like the most enticing sales pitch. But if for some reason you want to take that course, you can find the link in the description. Good fucking luck. So when it comes to other people, I think one of the hard truths that I've had to swallow over the years is that you can't really change the mind of somebody who's not willing to have their mind changed. You can throw as much data and statistics and logical arguments at them, but they're just gonna like ninjutsu that shit, you know, pull a Neo in the Matrix, and all the bullets are gonna get by them. I think this is because
it's kind of like trying to help like an addict or something like that, or like an alcoholic or something like that. It's like they have to. That's my experience with it. It's like, if they don't want to, it's not going to happen.
Because most people's beliefs are not based on logic or reason. Most people's beliefs are based on identity and group affiliation. And so when you show them contradicting data, their thought process isn't, oh, I need to update my prior assumptions about the world. Their thought process is,
I don't see why people wouldn't want to do that.
My
though.
Tribe is being attacked. You know, many years
maybe
ago,
sometimes,
I used to coach people. And one of the reasons I fucking stopped coaching people is because it was often very frustrating. Somebody would hire me for a week, or we'd do like a monthly call or something, and it just felt like I was like beating my head against a wall. Like I was telling them the same thing over and over and over again. Usually like deep, profound truths don't sink in for people the first time. It's almost like you plant the seed in their head, and then they need to go live for another year or two for that idea to sprout. It's almost like we have to be in the right environment or context, or going through the right phase of our journey for those seeds to sprout. So one thing that has helped me a lot in my own relationships and just fucking tolerating all the nonsense that goes on in the world is understanding that I'm not here to change minds necessarily. I'm here to plant seeds. I'm here to drop an idea or an argument so that one day if that person becomes fertile ground, that seed can sprout. The most impactful things usually don't sink in right away. They usually need like a few weeks or months or even a couple years to like incubate in a person's head. And when I look at my own life, this also feels true. Like there
sometimes
were things
people aren't ready for things
that I
like
didn't
they need,
fully appreciate,
the right time, the right setting,
almost 40. Ultimately, I think humility is one of the most underrated values in our world right now.
Really,
on the
though.
internet, people
really,
are rewarded for
really,
false confidence. People are rewarded for being bold. People are rewarded for being zealots and fanatics about things. But while
the thing is that I think it's a fine line, because I do think that you need to be bold and you do need to be confident, but you do need to have humility because you could be wrong. I try with all that. I do. I really do. I do try, but it's hard, and sometimes you lean too far in one direction when you shouldn't, when maybe you're wrong or maybe you should have been bolder. It's a hard balancing act, it's never perfection. It is just that, a balancing act. But I definitely agree. Humility goes a long way. People don't like assholes. I know that.
The algorithms may reward bluster and bullshit. The real world doesn't. Life is really fucking difficult and complicated, and most of us don't really know what we're doing most of the time. So any sense of false certainty is really just going to cause more pain than necessary. I think what the dunning-kruger effect really teaches us is that humility is actually very practical. By intentionally underestimating our own understanding of things, not only do we open ourselves up to learn and grow more, but we also prevent ourselves from just being a fucking narcissistic ass face on the internet. That is, of course, until we decide that I'm the most humble person you ever met. Man, I'm so fucking humble.
Right.
You wouldn't believe it. Everybody thinks they're humble, but I'm really humble. Like I've got this humility.
I love how he's the music behind him.
Bottle it up and
how he throws it in there.
Because I'm gonna make a fucking killing. Humility like off the charts. Oh, you can't even see how high it is up there, man. Camera doesn't go that high. It's that humble. That fucking humble. And as you can see, now we're back to square one.
Subscriber die. Okay, I will. That was a good video. I like that. I thought that was cool. Yeah, it is. It's a hard balance. And a lot of it also has to do with just like having an open mind, being open to the fact that you might be wrong. You might not know, and not having your assumptions in terms of like, well, if you're meeting somebody and you're judging them, right? Judgment being a big word in this. It's hard. It's definitely hard. And the balancing act, I think that's really more so what it's about, because you can't just be so humble and so, yes, the cat. Yes. You can't just be so humble and so loose with yourself that you get taken advantage of, things like that. Right. So this is where everything is just a balance. It's just a balancing act. That may be the hardest when you're new to people, right? When you're meeting people for the first time, when you're working with people for the first time, and first impressions, things like that. That stuff really matters. Some of this is a little bit easier when it's like, people, right? It's like, okay, you've been working with this person for a year or for however long, right? And it's like, okay, they know you, you know them. It's like people know that I like to, like on here, people know that I like to joke around, and I can be ridiculous and I can be unnecessarily harsh and all of that kind of thing. But I am mostly just, messing around because I don't like to, because things are so serious, and I don't always like to take things so seriously, because it's, especially like with, I'm a musician with music. It's not serious. It's just music. It's not serious. I've taken music super seriously for so freaking long that it's just like, enough already. Like it doesn't pay enough to be that serious, frankly. But at the same time, I'm not going to allow somebody to treat me like I haven't put the time in, stuff like that. That's not to say that I don't also know, like, oh yeah, I'm not the best. And there are absolutely lots of people that are way better than me, but it's not all about that. It's like there's different kind of nuances with it, because music is subjective. And while some people may be really good at some things, other people can be good at other things. And also there's like the combinations of things that, it's like, point being, balance, and it's deep, right? I thought this is a really good video, actually. I liked it. This guy's funny also. Wow. Cool. There it is. Yeah, I like it. Awesome. Why stupid people think they're smart. Awesome. Thank you, guys. Catch you later.